in Korean culture, I think like family and friends are really close to each other, and they always help each other, and sometimes interfere too much for me, but it's really like heartwarming. Like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's too much, but like overall, I think they care about each other a lot, like compared to Japanese culture. Because in Japan, we don't really meet parents so often, and like we don't really call friends or message friends. It doesn't mean we don't love them, but we love them. You are not supposed to disturb other people. You should always be polite, and you should make any trouble for others.
Welcome to International Love Story, the podcast about intercultural relationships. My name is Christina, and in today's podcast episode, I'm going to welcome Kiri and Brian. Kiri is from Japan. Hi. And Brian is from Korea, from South Korea, and I'm so excited to meet both of them, to get to know them a little bit better. I hope you're excited too. They're living in Australia right now, in Melbourne. So this is why it's 7 a.m. here in Buenos Aires, and I think it's 7 p.m. on your end, right now?
8 p.m.
8 p.m. So we have a 13-hour time difference. But again, I'm so excited to get to know you. I'm so happy that we made this work. And with this being said, go ahead and introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you doing? Tell us all about you.
Hi, I'm Kiri. I was born and raised in Japan, and now I live in Australia. And I do like art. I paint portraits. I illustrate like coffee culture in Australia. And I make some merchandises and sell it online.
Hi, I'm Brian. Born in Korea. I came to Australia when I was 15. And yeah, I graduated high school in Gold Coast and moved to Melbourne. And at the moment, I'm doing dental assistant.
So you both met in Melbourne then, I guess, right?
Yes, we used to work in the same cafe. So I was working there as a barista, and he was in the kitchen.
It started in the cafe, and how many years ago?
It was 6 years ago when I first came to Australia on working holiday visa. So we met in a cafe and we became good friends first, because he was able to speak a little bit of Japanese when I couldn't speak proper English. So he was really helpful at the cafe. And we started to hang out with other coworkers too. So we became really close friends. But then I went back to Japan after my working holiday visa expired. And so he lives in Australia, so we got separated. And during the separation, I was missing Australia, and I also missed Brian so much. And what about you? How did you feel when I left Australia?
After she left, yeah, we will keep on contacting each other. And yeah, of course, I miss her a lot. We were suffering.
I didn't like my life in Japan, so I wanted to come back to Australia. After 5 months, I came back to Australia again, and we met again, and we started our relationship.
How was it for you, Brian? I mean, you were saying that you both suffered, and as I understood, you split paths because you, Kiri, you had to go back to Japan, but you split as friends, and then you both realized, okay, I do miss this person. How was it for you, Brian? Like, what do you mean exactly with suffering? Did you feel that there might be something else? Did you miss her a lot, or how did it feel for you?
Yeah, probably we were just a friend, but we had a feeling each other, which we didn't say. But yeah, we had a feeling, but we knew we were gonna be apart. We actually couldn't decide on the time. We couldn't maybe express our feeling on the time, I guess.
Because yeah, obviously you knew that eventually Kiri is going to go back, and then it's quite difficult. When are you going to see each other again? And yeah, I understand. So how was it, Kiri, when you finally came back to Australia? The big meeting on each other.
So happy. First, I was really happy that I live in Australia again. I don't like Japan, to be honest. I like Japan, of course, but I don't like to live in Japan. So I was so happy to come back here. And I met you, was feeling so happy that I finally met you. And he kissed me on the top of rooftop bar, and we started our relationship.
So you came back and you started your relationship right away.
Yeah.
And even though you, Kiri, you were there like again with a work and travel visa, or what type of visa did you have at that point, may I ask?
Oh, I used student visa on that time.
Oh, okay. So you were able to stay a little bit longer this time and to really get to know the culture, really dive deep into the relationship, so that you knew that you're going not anywhere far for the next few.
I decided to live here longer than before. Yeah, I wasn't sure I might live here forever on that time, but I was sure that I want to live here longer than the last time.
Yeah. So that's 6 years ago, and obviously a lot of things have happened. How does your life look like right now for everyone who's not following you on Instagram yet and who doesn't know you yet? What happened the past 6 years to the point where you are nowadays?
So it's gonna be a lot of stories, but so I came back with student visa and I dated with Brian, and we started living together as well, like straight away. We were happy about each other. Like, of course, I see good part and bad part of Brian while we lived together. But including the bad part, I was still sure that I loved him and I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him. And I was feeling safe with him. And I really love Australia as well. Like in Japan, I think other Asian countries too, but I felt really stressed that people are watching me, like they people are judging my life. Or like working in Japan is really hard because it's like people are strict. But in Australia, I could feel like I can be, it's okay to be myself, and I feel free in Australia. So I wanted to keep living in Australia, and we decided to apply partner visa, which makes me live here forever. So we applied. It was a lot of effort too, but we applied the visa together, and I got the partner visa. And then after 2 years, I applied for the permanent residency, and I got it as well. So now finally, like officially, I'm like a resident in Australia. So like we are together. Oh, and we married as well last year.
Yeah, congratulations. Beautiful pictures, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful couple. I loved it.
Thank you so much.
And for you, Brian, I mean, if you would reflect the past 6 years, like the day you met Kiri, what has changed for you? Like your life before and your life nowadays as a married couple in Melbourne with a wife from another culture. How did it feel for you, and how does it feel for you?
Yeah, so of course I love Japanese food, and which she cooks most of the day, almost every day. But yeah, since I met her, she's very, very good to me, and I was thankful that I have her. I was very grateful that I met her. Of course, my life changed a lot. Yeah, because of her. She helps me a lot. She gives me advices when I suffer from jobs or people. And one of my dream was marrying a Japanese girl.
Really? So you manifested it and it happened.
Yeah, dream became true. And I'm very happy.
That's
And
amazing.
I'm happy that it's Kiri. Yeah.
Because you seem to be like, as far as I can tell, like sitting in front of me right now. Like I see that there are different personalities playing a role, but it seems like you're a very good addition. I'm just wondering, because for me, obviously, it's hard to tell because we're not seeing each other in person, and I kind of just met you. But when it comes to cultural differences and also differences in personality, which often go along with the cultural differences as well, what would it be exactly? What is there where you're like, okay, Kiri is just so different in this and that field to me, and I'm just so different to her, but we make it work and we find the balance and try to accomplish something greater.
You know, Japan and Korea are next to each other, so I think many people will think like Japan and Korean culture are quite similar, but it's actually really different. I like every day I get surprised with the culture difference, and one of the biggest culture difference I feel was the distance between family and friends. So in Korean culture, I think the like family and friends are really close to each other, and they always help each other, and sometimes interfere too much for me, but it's really like heartwarming. Like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's too much, but like overall, I think they care about each other a lot, like compared to Japanese culture. Because in Japan, we don't really meet parents so often, and like we don't really call friends or message friends. It doesn't mean we don't love them, but we love them. You are not supposed to disturb other people. You should always be polite, and you should make any trouble for others. So even if you want to call your friends, you think, well, my friends might be busy now, they might be working now, so you don't call. But I see Brian's Korean friends, they always call whenever they're bored. And they always answer the phone all the time. So that's one of the culture that I was really surprised.
It's not related to our relationship, but if I have to say, the culture difference, we just call whatever we want. We don't ask, like, we don't make an appointment. But for Japanese, I don't know all the Japanese, but yeah,
at least me and my friends, when we want to call, we decide, okay, which day are you available, what time, and we decide exactly the appointment, and on that day, the time we call. So that's the difference. And that is why Brian sometimes get annoyed that I don't answer his phone. Like when he calls me, I always don't answer because my phone is not next to me all the time.
But we have the same here, because it seems like the German culture when it comes to this is very similar to the Japanese. That's interesting to know. Because in Germany, we would also make plans ahead and we would text beforehand like, hey, and I call you in 1 hour. Yes, in Germany too. So it's a lot of those things you've shared, Kiri. Actually, all of them. It's the same in Germany.
I heard that people in Germany is bit similar to Japanese people. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I heard.
Yeah, we are also very strict. We like to be organized. I mean, that's a big cliche of Germans, but that's a cliche that's actually true for most of them. And then because my husband is Argentinian, and he would answer phone calls in impossible situations where I'm just like, why? Why would you do that? And he's just like, if someone is calling me, I'm answering. I'm like, but not right now. Like,
and that's what's happening to us.
I mean, I see it with a sense of humor because that's one of the cultural difference we have, which we can make fun about, and we take a lot of things after 8 years being together with a lot of sense of humor. But in the beginning, it kind of, even though it's just a small thing, but it really made me wonder. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I was just like, why is it so different? So I'm curious to know, like, your cultural differences in your relationship as well. Because the one thing, obviously, like that's a fun thing to tell. But for example, in our relationship, we had in the beginning issues to communicate. For example, my English wasn't that good. And as far as I understand, Kiri, when you first came to Australia, your English wasn't good either. Did you communicate in Japanese? Was it a mix of languages? How did you make it? How did you make it work? Exactly.
Yeah, but like we mixed English and Japanese.
But since Kiri loves to learn English, she put very much effort and she learned very fast. I think, to be honest, I think she's better English than me as a vocabulary.
I don't think so.
Yeah. she's very passionate, enthusiasm as learning English.
Yeah, that is true. I just like learning English. So yeah, of course he likes learning Japanese too. So like we mixed the language, but still my English was better than his Japanese. So when we talk about something easy, we speak Japanese. But when the topic is a little bit difficult, then we need to speak English.
But as I remember, we didn't have much trouble of what we want to say. We will pretty much express whatever we want to say.
Yeah, and because we both speak the second language, we know how hard it is to speak English, right? And so even when one of us is like we can't remember the word, then the other person doesn't get upset. We just wait, like we're patient and we don't get irritated about it.
That's amazing. This is the best case because I'm not so patient when it gets to a point, like talking out of my experience, where it's so frustrating even nowadays. And my English is not perfect. I'm aware of it. It's okay. But I have to take myself down sometimes and just be like, okay, breathe, try to find other words, translate yourself, calm down. Because it's, for me, sometimes even like in very emotional situations, if I can't find the right words to express myself, it can be, at least to me again, it can be quite frustrating because I'm just like, okay, it would be so much easier to explain myself in German right now. But then on the other hand, Nacho, for example, his German is really good nowadays. So I could express myself in German, but it's just another way of expressing. So I would express myself in my mother tongue a different way than I would do it in English. In English, I always hold myself back. And this is something I'm realizing more often, and it's very interesting. And I've talked about that in the podcast as well. But, in my case, I have to translate first in an emotional situation, and then it's just not coming off so straightforward. It's more like a little bit more sugar-coated. And I think this is also what the English language does in general, while else in German, it's very direct and it can be quite hurtful as well at some point. So we have this filter in between, which is good. Sometimes it's just a little bit annoying because sometimes I just would love to express myself in a way I'm used to in German and the German language. But I love that you were patient with each other right from the beginning, that you had a great way to communicate, because that's actually something, like that's the most important thing, being patient.
Yeah, we don't really get stressed. Yeah, that's why.
So all in all, you would say like the past 6 years, they have been quite smooth for you, or were there any hurdles in between?
We don't really fight. Well, we just argue with some situation. Yeah, what things should be fixed to each other for the better relationship.
We just adjust. Like, of course, we are different people. So sometimes what I want and what Brian wants are different. Well, we just like communicate and we find the middle part. Like we both like compromise and find the like middle part so we can, it's like fair. It's fair, right?
And you had that right from the beginning, or was that something you worked on? Because I think that's very interesting in my experience and also in the experience of other intercultural couples. This is a topic they're working on, especially in the first few years. But to me, it sounds like for you, it was very natural to get to that point. So I'm wondering, what was your experience with finding the middle way?
Our personality is kind of, we don't really say the bad thing each other in the beginning of the relationship, and we were just maybe hiding. I think
Maybe you were.
you didn't.
I know. I can't remember.
Yeah, but after a couple of years, maybe we were thinking things has to be changed. To make us both happy.
Maybe both of us became more honest about each other. Like maybe like 3 years, after 3 years, we became more honest, probably. Now we say whatever we want in a nice way, of course. But yeah, maybe in the beginning, we didn't really convey like what I don't like about Brian, maybe. I can't really remember, but probably now I say more
straightforward. Is that, Brian, would you say that's a cultural difference as well? I mean, I'm just very curious, being more like holding yourself a little bit more back and swallowing is the wrong word for it, but holding your emotions and feelings back in the beginning until you're fully into it, or how is it in your culture?
I think, my opinion, just tolerating my emotion was just maybe personality.
just
maybe
personality.
Yeah, it's
straight, right?
But I would say personality as well. All different.
Is the same, but as Korean culture, I thought like Japanese people really, they don't say the honest feeling. That's the Japanese culture. You shouldn't say it. Like you always hide it. But I think compared to Japanese culture, Korean culture is more honest.
Yeah, Korean boys more feel, I don't know whether they feel comfortable, but they try to suit to a girl, whatever makes them happy. Like
yeah, it's Korean guys.
Yeah, I think they could be cultural difference. Yeah.
Okay, so they kind of would put their feelings first, especially in the beginning, below, and just make sure that you create a comfort zone for your girlfriend and now your wife. But she said, I mean, there's a saying, I guess there's a reason why there's the saying, happy wife, happy life. Obviously, you have to get to the same level where you both because at some point, if you always do it for years and years and years and you put yourself just second, that might just cause some conflict.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm glad that you found a way to communicate and to find the middle way after such a short amount of time, to be honest. I would love to learn a little bit more about, if it's okay for you, about like your family situation, because you're both, I'm not sure about you, Brian, if your family is living in Melbourne as well. As far as I understood, they do. But I would like to know more about you, Kiri, living in Australia right now, being far away from home, staying in contact with your family while building a life in Australia, and having Brian's family directly in Melbourne, I guess as a support network as well. Like, what is the constellation behind it?
Of course, I miss my mom because, especially my mom doesn't have husband. She's single. So I worry about her as well. And I miss her. So yeah, I sometimes call her or message her. But living here with, we don't live with Brian's parents, but the parents live very close from our house. So yeah, they help us a lot whenever I need something. Or we visit them like every 2 weeks. So which is very often to me. Like I told you earlier, like the family distance in Korean culture is closer than Japanese people. So for me, meeting parents every 2 weeks is really frequent. In Japan, I don't like once a month it's a lot as well. I was surprised how often you're gonna meet your parents. But yeah, I think that's the Korean culture. So I don't go there every time. I go like sometimes I go, sometimes I don't go. But yeah, but Ryan's family is really nice to me. So it's kind of, yeah, it's the problem is that I can't speak Korean and they don't speak English. So we don't talk. That is the problem. But we still show our love with like gifts, or I just show them, I just do dishwash, or I play with Ryan's nephews. So I just try to show that I want to be close, but yeah, we can't talk. It's the same thing.
And was your mom able to travel to Melbourne?
Come here. It's really hard to take day offs in Japan. Like the working environment is really hard. You can't take day offs, especially like if it's just 3 days, maybe you can. But to come to Australia, since you take like 10 days off, then it's really hard.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's also something, Kiri, you are sharing here and there on your accounts, how different the work culture in Japan is to the work culture in Australia. I find it very interesting that, I mean, we have a cliche as well of Japanese people being very hardworking and working more than 8 hours per day. Because in Germany, it's the same as in Melbourne. So you have your 8 hours and then you're done, you go home and then you enjoy yourself. While as in Japan, I think 8 hours is the minimum as far as I know. So usually it's much more. And then you don't really have so many vacation days. So you have to be quite, yeah, in a way, like, it's just different to what I know, I guess.
System in Japan and Korea is very tough.
Yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah, and extra work is obvious, like to them. It's not they get extra money, but they just have to overwork.
So they
I think
expected.
it's changing as well. At least they get money if they overwork. But this pressure, like if your boss is staying, you can't go home. You just stay and your boss tell you to go home as well. And like people in Japan sacrifice their life for work. So the job is all about their life, and it's really depressing in my opinion.
So the work-life balance is non-existent in Japan and in South Korea.
It's bad.
Yeah. How is it? Because as far as I understood, you're trying to get your mom to visit to Melbourne so that she can take a few days off. So am I understanding correctly that you didn't have the chance yet to do a family reunion so that they will meet in person? Is that something on your list?
Once when we did wedding in Korea, all that time my mom and my dad they came, they divorced but they came together. And they only had 3 days off though. So they quickly came and quickly went back to Japan. But all that time we met as family.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was good.
How was your wedding?
It was a very fast day. I can't even remember how the day been.
So busy.
Very busy.
You got married in Korea, and on the organization part, like, how does it work when it comes to paperwork, traveling to Korea, setting everything up beforehand? What is your experience with that? Were you stressed, or how does it feel like?
Well, it was Brian's parents who wanted us to do wedding in Korea. Like for us, we were like we don't have to marry now. We were thinking like we live together, and we didn't really think it's the time to marry. We were sure that we want to live together forever, but for us, marriage didn't really matter. Actually, it's same anyway. But Brian's parents really wanted us to marry in Korea. So they said they will organize everything and they will pay for the wedding. So actually, we didn't do anything. It's all organized by my parents. I think it's typical Asian parents, might, I think.
How long into your relationship until you got married?
So we got married last year.
And relationship 16?
5 years?
When it comes to your future plans, because obviously you've built a life together, as mentioned before, you found a middle way. You are communicating very openly. You learned to be patient. No, you didn't really learn it. You were patient right from the beginning, which is amazing. What is next for you? What are your next steps? If you could dream the next 5 years, let's say next 5 years, how would that look like for you?
For me, I would love to focus on my art career at the moment. So right now, I try my best for my business. Like I'm doing like small business selling my art. So yeah, I want to focus on that and while I'm success with the business.
For me, yeah, I'll be saying like focus on my dental assistance, my job. Yeah, I would like to do better, and then in the future, not too long, but yeah, I would love to study something else and planning to learn more of skill wise, maybe get a certificate or something.
They're very career orientated.
Now, yeah.
And as a couple, did you set any goals for the next few years? Are you planning to stay in Melbourne? How will your life as a couple look like?
We want to stay in Melbourne, and we are planning to go honeymoon next year. So we are excited for that. We know that we are gonna be together for a long time, and like until we get old, but we still not sure about like babies and all stuff. Like I don't know. I don't know if I want a baby or not. So like we can't really say it now.
What's certain is that you're going to build a life together and you just take it as it is. Like you take it one day at a time and let yourself surprise more or less. Love it. That's the best way. I mean, yeah, you can't really plan the future first of all. I mean, you can, but it's not always working out. And I just like to think about like, when you are not too stubborn in how your next steps will look like, that you're more open-minded to take another approach. If another door opens, it sounds a little bit cheesy, I know, but this is my experience, that you're more open-minded towards like, okay, what's on the other side, what's left, what's right. I think we all would love to plan our life in detail, but the reality just looks a little bit different, to be honest. So we're gonna slowly come to an end. When you think back, you guys, what you've accomplished together, the life you're living now, the way you communicate, what's your biggest advice for anyone out there who is in an intercultural relationship as well?
For me, I say just communicate. Communication is done. Like it's always important, even if it's not international couple relationship. It could be any relationship, and it's for like not only for couples, but friendship or mother and kids. Any relationship, it's always communication. It's the most important, I think. Tell your opinion on how you're feeling. But if you wanna find a solution, you need to convey. Otherwise, nothing will change.
Before we've been talking about we argue, but for my opinion, argue is not a bad thing. It's a procedure of like knowing each other, and we can only if you're willing to change to fix. Yeah, so I think as Kiri said, communication or getting the relationship better. putting effort on it.
Yeah, but try not to like change your partner too much as well. That's you can't change another person. That's why we wanna find the middle parts. Like we don't control too much. Well, still like we are not gonna change the personality of another person, but just like a little bit change the behavior will make the other person happy. So it's not changing your partner's personality. It's like a bit hard to explain, but I hope you guys get it.
And that's something we have learned as well. Like there are different ways to communicate. There's the direct communication, which is not always the best, because depending on the mood of the other person, depending on also the cultural background, depending on the personality of the other person, it might just come off a little bit too forced and too direct. And then really trying to find a good way of communication that works for both is definitely the key. And that's, especially in the beginning, the most interesting part of a relationship. And then especially when this relationship includes different cultures and a different language, a language that's not your mother tongue. And then suddenly you have to think everything like, oh my God, how do I express myself in my second language? So yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and I can agree to you. And that's also something I think 80% of the couples I'm inviting in this podcast, they are sharing as well. Like communication is key. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing a glimpse of your life, a glimpse of your relationship. As mentioned before, there are different ways to reach out to you, to follow your journey, also to follow your art projects, Kiri. I will definitely link everything in the side notes as well as in the description of the video. It was lovely talking to you. It was great to get to know you. It's always interesting to get to know different cultures as well and see the dynamics of other couples, how they're handling things, how different it is to how we would handle things as well. But in the end, you make it work as well. And that's the goal we all have. Like we want to make it work. No matter the cultural background, no matter the religion, no matter the political view. But it was a pleasure again meeting you two. And thank you so much that you took the time today to talk to me.
Thank you so much for having us. It was great to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening and or for watching to today's podcast episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, you'll find all the information in the side note as well as in the YouTube video description. If you like what I'm doing, feel free to rate this podcast with 5 stars on wherever you're listening to it. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. I am investing a lot of time and energy in the podcast episodes and in general everything I'm sharing, my experience and our experience and the experiences of other couples. If you would like to share your story, just contact me. I will link a form. Maybe we are going to sit down together and you're going to tell your love story. Have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening. Please take care and bye.